I think of the trade every day as a farmer, whether, what country's going to be wanting to buy, or who's selling this and that, and you have to project almost like a year in advance what you're going to raise compared to what South America does and things like that. It's not like it used to be.
What do you think should happen with subsidies?
Without the subsidies, it has to go back to regulations, because the price 2 years ago was $1.96, and even at 200 bushel an acre, you're raising this big crop, it's below cost of production. And without the subsidies, they'd be out of work. Even though we're feeding the world, without the subsidies, you're just cutting your own throat.
One thing positive about subsidies is it keeps Americans in cheap food.
Well, every time they have taken subsidies off, and like he said, the price has gone up, then the American public just screams and hollers and says, oh, we can't pay that, we can't pay that. And many times it has been boycotted. I've been very interested in the NAFTA and the results of it. It doesn't seem like it's panning out as well as some wanted. And I can remember the wrangle they had trying to get it passed and so forth, and all the high hopes. So.
About 3 years ago, I was doing some training for social workers who were working with families on how to rebuild their lives, people in poverty, and to get them out of poverty and to sustain themselves. And it was so interesting to shift from our area and what the issues are in getting jobs and securing benefits and doing all of that with an unemployment rate of about 2%. Versus down in Las Cruces, New Mexico, the unemployment was anywhere between, 25 at the lowest and close to 50 at the highest because of NAFTA. And so they took us on a tour of all of the companies, Levi Corporation. I guess I shouldn't have probably said Levi, but I did. Don't buy Levi's either anymore, but I shouldn't say that either. But say whatever you want, Karen. Say whatever you want. No, I mean, it was amazing because Levi was such the company down there, and they moved their operations, 30 miles south of the border, and it's empty. And the housing around there that the people, the workers were there, is just dilapidated. And so, and that was just one of the companies. There were so many of them. And Hastings just had Dana Corporation. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Dana, but they just lost their manufacturing, lots of jobs, good benefits, down to Mexico, where it's all about cheap labor.
The Mexican economic policy seems to be based on the Americans' back pocket. They don't seem to be doing anything themselves to bring up their standards, to start taxing people the way they ought to start establishing the laws and use the laws. If they would bring their government more like our government, so that the standards would be there, the costs would be there, and things would even out.
One of the other problems is once you get into an international arena, there isn't the same kind of regulation. Not that regulation is bad. Sometimes it's good because it protects people. In agriculture, if they use poisons or fertilizers that are not used in this country, but yet they use it in that country, and then that food gets imported into our country, it comes into our food chain. So there has to be some kind of international or global regulation.
What role does the World Trade Organization have in all this?
What do they have and what should they have? And is there a gap between those two semantics?
We have to define the role of government. Is government here for the people, or is government here to be a framework or a vehicle for big business to operate and function? And is big business what's going to set the tone and the policy of the values of our country, or are the people and families and communities going to do that?
And of course, now that the mad cow disease has hit the United States, that's another concern for those of us that are living in a farm community.
As far as Japan is concerned, if they want to boycott our beef, why don't we boycott their vehicles? I mean, I think it's a give and take kind of thing. You want to scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
But didn't we just do the same thing to Canada? I mean, didn't we boycott their beef? So why is it okay for us to?
All but one.
But why is it okay for us to have our own set of rules, and expect another country to follow a different set of rules?
It's prudent for all these countries to make sure that our beef is safe. And I think if we provide the adequate assurance and the tracking systems, I'm impressed with their ability to go back and know exactly where that calf was born and raised and where it's been and where its parts are and vice versa.
I think when it comes to regulating, there's no better one to do it than the country that's purchasing it. You put your standards out there, what you want to buy. Anyone that wants to grow things to those standards and the price that you're willing to pay, you've got a deal. I think in agriculture, I think it's pretty easy to deal with that. You just produce a product that they want. We've been doing that in America a lot.
But now what happens when the company that's overseeing that decides it's more cost effective to send the farm over there than try to ship it overseas? And so they send another plant overseas, and there go all the jobs. What's going to happen is the more that there's international and global trade, it's just going to be a matter of economics. It's going to be more cost effective to send your plants and people in that region where it's esoteric. It's in that particular market.